I'm going to go over some of the mathematics books which I have accumulated over the period of 25 to 30 years. Now, I'm not going to go through them in detail. It's not going to be like a major book review, just to give you an indication of the books that I have in mathematics and the kind of stuff that I like to do and the kind of maths I like to read. So they're not in any order. I've got them sitting down here, and this is actually about half the pile. And you can see, if you look behind me, you can see I've got some gaps here in the library, and that's where the maths books have come from. So let's just start off with the one that I've tended to use quite a lot lately, and that's the Fox book in the Calculus of Variations. And you can see that it's actually from the binding, it's actually been well used, and I like this. It's a Dover book, and Dover book, they tend to pick up older books and then they republish them later on. So it's published, I think it was published originally in the 1950s or so, and I've used this in order to help me get a handle on the calculus of variations. So I'm not going to go through it in any major detail, but if you were going to start off with the calculus of variations, I would suggest that this would be a good place to start. Of course, I've got two courses which I've created, on one in the first variation and the other one covering the second variation, and it covers roughly what's in this book. There's a book that I've just received from for Christmas. So this is Mathematics, it's Contents, Meaning, Methods and Meaning. Now this is written by the Russian authors, and again it's another Dover book, and it was published in the 1954, somewhere around about then, and it was published in order to give the layman mathematician, or just the amateur mathematician, a lead into some of the, at that time, what was modern mathematics. So there's about 1,200 pages. I'm really enjoying it because it's quite, if you can get a quick look at it here, it's quite wordy. You know, there's a lot of words in it, and I quite like that about this type of book. It's very descriptive, and it's written by some fantastic Russian mathematicians, and well worth a read. And I got this for Christmas there, and I'm about 100 or so, 150 pages into it so far. Again, it's like an undergraduate book, but it's really good. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a nice, relatively easy maths read. And what else I've got here? Again, mathematics of classical and quantum physics. Again, I've not used this very much, but I've gone in and taken out certain sections of it, and I've really kind of used this as a reference book. And you can see how it's still in really quite good condition because it's not been used that much. Okay, but as I say, with some of these books, I've still got time to read, you know, so I will be getting round to getting through some more of them. This is an old book that I got many years ago. In fact, I think I got this when I was an undergraduate, Div Grad Curl and all that. So again, it's covering vector calculus, divergence gradient and curl, and that's another excellent book if you're interested in trying to get a handle on vector calculus and the calculus that you use for electromagnetics. Then this is an excellent book, and I would highly recommend it. Differential Equations, George F. Simmons. Again, an old book, and you can see the paper, it's really quite old. Again, this is an excellent book, and if you were starting out looking at differential equations and you're looking for a book that would cover a more kind of formal, or you could use it along with a more formal course book, then I would suggest that this book is also got, if you like seeing the content, with applications and historical notes. So there's a good bit of historical notes in there as well, and I think that's very useful in mathematics, to try and get some picture of the historical content of the subject. I think it helps aid your understanding. Let's see. Introduction to Partial Differential Equations with Applications. Again, that's another Dover book. You can see it's quite new. I got this about 6 months ago. Again, I've used it. I used it really because I was looking to try and get some more understanding on partial differential equations for the second variation of in calculus of variations. So I've leafed through it, and I've got a few pointers and a few things out of that have been of use. But again, it's another book that I intend to work through. This calculus book, you won't find this here in print anymore. I got this whenever I was going to do 6-year studies mathematics. So this is, I got this in 1988. I think 1988 I bought this book. But then I never actually did the 6-year studies maths. I decided to go and work in a steelworks instead for 4 years, which was interesting. That actually was very interesting. History of Vector Analysis. This has been a really good read. I've not gone through all of it, but the sections I've picked out sections that I was interested in, and it puts a lot of the vector analysis into historical content, and I found it's excellent for learning, because a lot of times when you're doing a lot of mathematics, they seem to pull stuff just out of the air, and you're left thinking, well, whoever created this must have been an absolute genius. And of course, it's never ever like that. We're only ever working, standing on the shoulders of everyone else. So everyone's just chipping away with a little hammer, and this puts a lot of the vector analysis obviously in a historical context. So again, if you're interested in a kind of historical part of vector analysis, I would highly recommend this book here. Again, I don't want to go through any detail because I've got too many books to get through. If you're interested in any one particular book, you can always leave a comment down below, and I can set the book up like this, and you can pause it and have a little read, or else I can go through one in more detail if you like. What we got? Concepts of Modern Mathematics by Ian Stewart. Again, this is a kind of undergraduate read, and it's quite wordy, quite descriptive, and it's an excellent and an easy read. Again, I'm not going through all of it, but I've picked out the sections which I'm interested in. I've worked through small sections of it. But again, it's another book that I could sit and work through the entire book. I would think of all of the maths books I've gathered over the last 25-30 years, I've probably worked through about 20% of them, 25% maybe, cover to cover completely, and the rest of them I've either used as references for certain sections, or just covered small parts of it. And there are a few that have actually just sat on the shelves for many years and they hardly ever been leafed through, but not very many, only maybe 5% or so that are like that. This again is a new book which I got last year. Again, it's the undergraduate, and you'll see this book, it's a mathematical methods for physics and engineering, so it's undergraduate maths, and I actually really like this one. There are a few books, I've got a few books of this nature, okay, but I like this one because it's actually very simple, which is good because I like simple. I do simple very well. And it's well written, and I mean, it's hardly an in-depth review of it, but it's of the level that I tend to enjoy whenever you're first learning about subjects. You don't want to be really knocking your head off a wall when you're first learning. You want to be led partly by hand, and that leads you quite well. And I will be using a lot of stuff from that book, so I'll pop it over here. And this book here, again, this book actually covers the same as the previous book here. You would only really need one of these. You can either have this one or that one, But of course, I got this a few years back, and I've decided to purchase this one as well, and it's good. I can make a good comparison, and whenever I'm checking things up, I can always go in to one or another, or check both of them out and see how they describe things. But I would suggest either this one or this one here, and just my personal preference would be for this one, okay? But again, it's just a personal preference. I wouldn't use it in any way of deciding for yourself what one to get. You'll have to have a look through and decide what you like. Visual Complex Analysis, another excellent book, and I've gone through a reasonable amount of this book, and it's a beautiful book. It's the descriptions of it and the physical descriptions are really good. I mean, I actually got this because I'm interested in a lot of the Fourier-Laplace transforms and the applications of those to engineering and physics, and there's an awful lot of that as functions of a complex variable, and it is actually the type of subject that is open to a graphical analysis if you use your imagination. And I get a lot of tips here about how to think about some of these things in a graphical manner to try and give you intuition. So if you really want to gain real intuition, then this book's a fantastic book for that. Again, these have come out at random. This is one of the books that I've had for many years and I've just never been able to get into. It had great reviews online, and I've sat down, but I've just, it's not only that I haven't really covered it, whenever I've picked it up to have a look and find out stuff, it's never really got what I've been looking for. And I was tempted to sell this back. I think you can sell them back to Amazon or wherever, and allow me to purchase something else. But I decided to keep it because sometimes it takes a few years after you've had a book, you pick it up and you look and you think, whoa, this is exactly what I'm looking for now. Whereas you weren't actually, at the time when you've opened up and had a look and you thought, it's not really what I need. So I'm hoping that maybe in a few years' time or months or whatever, I'll pick up this book and it'll have really fantastic stuff in it that I really want to learn. But not just for now, I've got too many other things. Now, again, a bit of a historical book. I've got this as well for doing engineering courses. It tends to be the go-to book for engineering mathematics, which is really most of the mathematics which I did for my early work in my degree. And again, I've worked through certain sections of this. It's a kind of prescribed book. You kind of know what you're going to get whenever you buy it. Now this, let's see, this one here. Now this is my go-to book for calculus. This was the recommended book for my first year at Edinburgh Uni. So I'd done what then was the first year of a maths degree, and I've worked through this literally cover to cover. In fact, I learned a valuable lesson whenever I worked through this. First of all, I've covered every single question in this book, and it's not actually a good idea to do that, and I found that out the hard way. I worked through every single part of this book, every single question, and it doesn't really, I don't really think it aids your understanding that much. You're better just to do 5 or 6 questions of a certain type and then move on to another section, do 5 or 6, continue like that, and then go back and do another 2 or 3 and jump about. So for me, learning that rote method of going through every single question and every single question for each section, it's time consuming, a little bit boring, and ultimately it doesn't achieve for me, it didn't achieve the results I thought it would. So I've never done that again since. And that was when, that 1991, 1992, that I got this book. So my advice, don't do every single question. That's just for me personally, it doesn't work for me. Another book was a present a couple of years back, the Princeton Companion to Mathematics. And you can see actually, I've actually, although it's a reference book, you can just read it page by page and just work through over the entire book. Now I've only got, I don't know, a couple of hundred pages into this book, but I've gone in and used it as a reference book as well. So if you're looking for a nice reference book and just a lovely book for your library, it's got to be this book here. I think it's quite expensive now. I'm not sure, it's 60, 70 pounds or so. So it's expensive. But if you've got, someone who's maybe willing to buy you something as a nice Christmas present, which this was, then this is the book, one of the books I would recommend. But again, it is a reference book. And of course, I was given this as a present, so I thought I might as well buy the Applied Mathematics one. And the strange thing is that I prefer this to the Applied Mathematics one. I almost find that this one here is more general, and this one seems to be more specific. Again, don't take my word on it and decide on this whether you're going to go at this review whether you're buying this one or this one, because it's just a quick once over. So again, they're great books too. They look good in your library, and they are good reference books as well. So I think finally we've got a couple here. Again, these are old books that I've worked through, and again, they're kind of my go-to books for the basic calculus. And these are the Apostol books, volume 1 and 2. And I found these in a charity shop somewhere. Must have been 20 odd years ago, and they were like something like £2 or £3 each. A few dollars each. Cost practically nothing, and they're in perfect condition. And they've got that nice kind of musty smell of knowledge about them. They just look good. They've got excellent binding, and the typescript is fantastic. They just feel solid. And again, I use these reasonably regularly. But of course, with the advent of the internet, I spend a lot of time as well picking up all the information I need on the internet. But the books are still excellent to go to. They're excellent to if you're looking to find a roadmap or a route through a subject. A good book is really, really worth it. So that's a rough indication of, that's probably half of the maths books that I've got. I've got the other half there, which I won't go over just now. If you're interested, you can give me a shout and I can always let you know the rest of the maths library I have. I'll do another video for, I've got some stuff on the history of mathematics. I've also got Open University courses which I've used. They're actually up in the top shelf up here. You can see them, just the books running all the way along here. Okay, so these are the Open University, and the Open University maths notes are fantastic. They are just fantastic. You really, if you're looking to get a lead in on any subject in mathematics, I would recommend the Open University course notes. You don't necessarily need to do the course. You can always just go online and you can buy the courses. People are always selling their courses on, and I've bought a few. I've actually done a few Open University courses as well on subjects that I'm interested in. But the problem I've had as well, I was going to do a course on the calculus of variations at the Open University, but you're going to spend £1,000, which is $1,200–1,300 to go through the course. and you can get the course notes online for nothing. And I thought to myself, what would I rather spend the £1,400 on? And when I thought about all of the other maths books and potential other things I could do with the £1,400, spending it all on one course just didn't seem to make any sense to me, especially when you can buy the course notes and read them over and teach yourself. I suppose what you're really paying for at the end of the day is a tick to tell someone that you've actually covered this work. So, but if you don't really need the tick, you don't really need to spend £1,400 to get the tick. You can just go and buy a few books. Anyway, that's enough. I'm starting to rattle a bit. I'll go over the physics books and probably on the next video. So thanks for listening. I'll get you on the next video. Goodbye.